everyone. I'm just popping in before this week's episode to let you know that I'm giving this a bit of a sensitivity warning. There could be some triggering conversations that we delve into just a little bit, not too much detail, but my guest today is very open about her experience around PTSD and some sexual trauma that happened in her life. So I just wanted to let you know in case you needed to change the channel. You might have a child in the room or might just be triggered by these topics in general. So giving you a heads up that these topics come up in the first 10 minutes and then a really short reference in the last 10 minutes. With that being said, I hope you enjoy today's episode.
I'm going to ask you to keep a journal, and I'm going to ask you to make a list of just, if you can't come up with 10, just make a list. Make a list of, if you were to move all the obstacles in your life, if you had all the money in the world, if you had whatever you could do, what are some things you would do? Climb Mount Kilimanjaro, travel the world, just make a list of those things. And you'll be surprised, Kristen, the amount of people, women especially, who can't make that list.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the Bold Moves How Did You Know podcast, a podcast for the naturally curious who wanted to find their own path. I'm your host, Kristen Rocco, and here I'm sharing bold move stories that propelled my guests from curiosity to action. And in doing so, they've defined a path that is purposeful to them. Through these stories, I hope you'll be inspired to pursue your boldest dreams. Joining me today is Marla Albertie. She is the owner and founder of TruthSpeaksGroup. It's a multimedia company that creates strategies and solutions for work-life integration harmony. You're going to tell us all about that. She is also the founder of IO for Teens, and also a certified professional career executive and life coach. Marla believes that life is a journey and we all can create the life we want, so why not? You only live this life once. She has a passion for seeing growth in people's lives and she wants others to pay it forward. I thought a really interesting fact about you, Marla, is that you have lived on board a U.S. carrier, therefore you feel like you're unstoppable. So, Marla, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Thank you for being here and welcome.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I'm so excited to be here.
Of course, I just left off on this very interesting fact about you being on board a United States carrier. Tell us about that.
Yes, so I am a proud Navy veteran, and salute and shout out to all the veterans out there. Even if you are a veteran spouse or military current active duty right now, anyone who has served in any kind of capacity, we see you, we hear you, we love you. Thank you for your service. But yeah, so my first duty station outside of boot camp in A school, those who were in the Navy know what I'm talking about, was a United States carrier, which was the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. If you are familiar with the military and the Navy, the carrier is the largest ship that's in the fleet of the United States ships fleets, and we had about 5,000 people on the ship whenever we were out to sea. We were in ports about maybe 3,000 people because you have your squadron that's on board. But yeah, so we lived. That was my home. That was the home.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
We really appreciate that. And I'm so glad to have learned a little bit more about your background in that way. So let's transition a little bit because, this is our first time meeting and I'm just really glad you're here. I've learned a little bit about you through some research and it seems as if you've had some major curveballs, not one, but a couple major curveballs in your life, a few. And this podcast really is all about bold moves, and I know you've also had some of those. So I'd love to kind of hear your background and your story, and what are some of those tough times that you've been through, and then maybe how have they empowered some of your bold moves?
Yeah. So in my Golden Girls words, because I'm a Golden Girls fan, as you can see, they're back there on the wall back there. Picture it, Sicily, 1922. No, not for real. But no, yeah, I've had some curveballs. So starting off, just to start off with some curveballs, right? So you kind of go through life and you don't expect certain things. So you kind of expect to start here and go here and go here. But guess what? Life is not perfect. It's never in that shape. So you see something as a little girl. So you see, okay, you want to do this with your mom and you want to do that with your mom, and you get older and you want your mom to witness this and you want your mom to witness that. Well, I grew up with my mom, and then my mom passed away. So she was here enough to see me give birth to she didn't see me give birth to my son, but she was enough to see her grandson while he was a baby. She didn't see him grow up, obviously, but she passed when he was very young. He was maybe, oh gosh, 2000. She passed in 2004. So he was 6? About 6, about 5 or 6. So he remembered her, but not much, So I do miss that piece of my life where you get to go shopping with your mom, and walking down the aisle, and you get to have your mom there. So that was a hardship. And then also I was the only child growing up in the household, but I had tons and tons of friends and family. And I'm very close. I have a very close-knit family. We have a family reunion coming up this weekend, actually. And I'm still very close to all of my cousins. And with that being said, I had 2 brothers. So my dad he was married before. So he had 2 brothers. He had 2 sons. And so both of them are now gone. And so even though I didn't grow up with them and they were much older than I was, but I did spend time with them as whenever I needed. And so they're gone, and then me being the caretaker for my dad. So he's about to be a beautiful 85 years young, coming up here next weekend, September 17th. He's going to be 85. I'm throwing him like a little gathering. And so I take care of him, running him back and forth. He doesn't drive. I drive him back and forth. Oh, and so let's not talk about my experiences. I'm a proud Navy veteran, but I had experiences in the military that I am literally, Kristen, just now opening about, that a lot of, even my family didn't know about, and still don't know about to this day. But I'm just now opening up about my PTSD by means of military sexual trauma. And so, and that has affected me throughout my life. And again, it has affected how I behave, it's affected how I do things, it has affected how I have coping mechanisms in my life. And so I've had 2 marriages and 2 divorces. And both of those marriages were not the best, I wasn't physically abused, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually abused, went through a lot, so, and you say to yourself, okay, what's next? Well, recently left my 9 to 5, and I was not expecting, that was not a part of my New Year's resolution, Kristen, I'm telling you. It was not a part of my New Year's resolution to leave my 9 to 5 in June of 2023. But guess what? June 21st, 2023, a little over 2 months ago, I walked away from my 9 to 5. I was the HR director for a major healthcare organization here in town. And I walked away. I've always had my businesses. So I said, something interesting, one of my ex-husbands said, he said, you're not going to be satisfied until you're running your businesses full time and teaching. So one of my goals has always been to run my businesses full time and teach, be an adjunct. And so I've always been a teacher. That teaching foundation, that base has always been there with me. So pay attention. That's the first key. Pay attention to whatever that child thing inside of you. It's never going to go away. It's never going to go away. So that child thing inside of me, I've always been teaching. So I'm a certified trainer. I've trained adults. I teach kids. I do all of that. I have a nonprofit training kids, and so that teacher inside of me never went away. So I've taken all those experiences and all those issues, and it's kind of like a double-edged sword, Kristen, because yeah, I have this PTSD and I have these issues over here, but I've taken all those, my coping mechanisms, because one of my coping mechanisms is staying busy. And I'm proud, I'm openly saying that. I don't admit it, but I'm openly admitting it, so staying busy. And people ask me, well, Marla, how you do it? Well, I was able to create work-life harmony.
Thank you for sharing and being so vulnerable about some of the things that you've experienced and been through, the hardships that you've walked through and overcome, to now, leveraging those experiences in some way to be resilient and move forward with your businesses and taking that big plunge into full-time business ownership. You run this company, Truth Speaks Group. I
Yes.
believe. It's a multimedia coaching company that creates strategies and solutions for work-life integration harmony. So you already kind of touched on that. But what do you mean by work-life integration harmony?
Yeah, so we hear the term work-life balance. I mean, that's what people say. And now we're 2023, we're kind of moving away from that. You may hear work-life integration. I've heard a few people say work-life harmony.
Yes.
So balance, as we know, when you balance something, what happens? It's like this, the scales, right? Something's going to always be higher or not. So my thing is, I love to use the example, the wheel of life. If you Google wheel of life, you're going to find 20 different versions of it. Some wheel of life has 12 areas, some have 9, some have 8, some have 15, whatever one you pick. We all have different areas. We all have spiritual, we all have financial, we all have emotional. We all are dynamic human beings, right? And we are all made up of all those areas. So sometimes in our lives, sometimes the work area may take up more of our life. I mean, my gosh, if you are working a 9 to 5, or if you are an entrepreneur, you will spend a lot of time in your job, especially if you're an entrepreneur, right? You will spend a lot of time in your job, but that doesn't mean that you are your job, right? You are just you. You are you. You are who you are. We have to learn to be a human being. And I'm talking to myself, right? We're humans, but we never be. And I just got done talking to my therapist about this the other day, right? We're constantly giving ourselves all these titles, but we have to understand work-life integration and harmony is about, it's not separating the two. It's about integrating them and understanding that you're a human being, so you have to learn to be. One of the phrases I hate to hear people say, especially in the workplace, is, you need to leave that work stuff at home. I mean, leave your home stuff at home. So the same Kristen that comes to work every day that lost Scrappy last night, or Fifi, or Chelsea, or whomever your little puppy dog is, you're gonna be saying Kristen, but you're gonna be the sad Kristen, because just because you lost your dog doesn't mean your feelings are gonna be better the next morning you go to work. So exactly. We need to stop saying, oh, leave that at home. Yes, Kristen's gonna be professional when she comes to work. Kristen knows that she has to be professional. But my gosh, how about leader? How about you be a little empathetic? How about that? And that's what it's about, is understanding that we are more than just our work. We are more than just being a parent. We are more than just being a woman. Right? We're more than just being a mother or a sister or a shopper or a singer or whatever you want to be. We are who we are. I am, that's it. So that's what it's about. That's what work-life harmony and integration is about, is bringing that together as understanding that wholeness, you as a human being.
How do you think that organizations at the organization level, not the personal level, right? But the organizational level deals and handles that. And that's not even it. It accepts that. Because I often feel like it is very hard I might want to bring my sad self to work because I just lost my dog. But if you don't have a supportive environment that wants to, be empathetic to that, as you said, that becomes a real challenge. And so that's the second part of my question would be, is that a red flag that you should look for something new and different?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
This is so good. So I am currently in school for my PhD in IO psychology, industrial organizational psychology. That's what the IO stands for. And industrial organizational psychology is the study of human behavior in the workplace. So well-being. Let me back up. IO psychology has 26 specialization areas. Some argue 25, whatever. Well-being is one of those, right? Autonomy is one of those. So all of that falls into IO psychology. So in organizations, we have theories that we follow in IO psychology. So as IO psychologists, we have theories we follow. One of those theories is the self-determination theory. It's one of the most popular ones out there. And that theory specifically states there's 3 areas, right? We have autonomy, which is what I did my research on, my PhD research on. You have your relatedness and you have your cognitive. Right? Then there's the job demand resources theory that states that if there's enough job resources and there's enough demands, then work can cohesively go together, right? But when the resources are low and the demands are high, you create stress and tension, and vice versa, right? And vice versa. Yeah. So if I got high resources and I got too many people but low demands, you got people twiddling their thumbs, now they're bored. So organizations got to figure this out. And then what else I did my research on is to answer that, to go back to that question, to feed into your question, is job crafting. So if you're not allowing people to have the space to do what they need to do, which is autonomy, right? Which the job demand resources theory states that autonomy is a critical resource that is needed in the workplace. What do you think is going to happen? Oh, we got the Great Resignation. Oh, we got quiet quitting. Oh, we got I don't care anymore. Because you're not showing the empathy that's needed. You're not giving them the autonomy needed for them to do what they need to do. So job crafting comes into place where they can task, they can change the amount of tasks they have. They can think differently, cognitively about their job, and they can have different relationships. If you're not allowing them to form those relationships, which will create that autonomy in the workplace, leaders, then you're kind of spinning stuff in circles here, so you, again, this all feeds back to autonomy. So then answer that second part of your question, then yeah, people are going to leave. It doesn't matter. Especially what we have to pay attention to is generations. I did a paper on this, and I'm probably going to do another art, probably do some published work on this, but generations. So we have this generation Z coming into the workforce, right? So generation X is, I think Generation X is us, right? So Generation Z is coming into the workplace, and millennials. Millennials. So they are more concerned about you caring about what I care about. So if I can't have 15 minutes to go water my plants, I'm not going to come work for you. No, and it's that serious. If I don't have pet insurance, I'm not going to come work for you. If you don't care about me, if Scruffy passed away, I'm gonna take my six-figure high-tech skills, because they have the tech skills. Oh, they have them, right? They were born with the iPhone. I wasn't born with the iPhone. I didn't know what the heck iPhone was. I was born with payphones, right? We were born with that, right? So if companies aren't willing to step it up in their game with their benefits, what do you think they are going to leave? That's what they're going to do. Let me tell you who's quiet quitting and the Great Resignation. That's us older folks. That's us 40. That's us Generation Xers, and that's us. That's us. You think the Z's and the millennials are doing that? No, they're not quiet quitting. They're leaving. They're just walking off. They're leaving. Read the reports out there. Read it. It's not. I'm not talking rockets. I'm not making this stuff up. It's out there. Read Harvard Business Review. It's out there. So they don't have to quiet quit. They're just gonna. Oh, really? Really? You're not going to let me work from home? Okay. All right. I'll just find a company who will. and that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So we got to keep up with the time. So there's a lot in there.
You spoke about the generational differences between millennials, Gen Z. I mean, every generation has their differences, but is there anything that one generation can learn from the other, or vice versa? Like, is any generation getting it right, or is any generation getting it wrong, or what can we all learn from each other?
So there is no right or wrong, right? You need to ask. I think the problem is, I know based off of research, right? The problem is one generation expects X, Y, Z from a certain generation. So the Generation X Generation X or baby boomers will expect this from this generation. So each generation talks about each other. They all say negative things about each other. So they all have issues with each other. But instead of doing that, why don't we simply ask that generation, what can help you and I work together? Okay. So I may not need time to go walk my dog, but I do need time to go and sit out in the sun for 15 minutes. Or I may need time to go read, or I may need time to stand and stretch. So how can you and I work together instead of just automatically developing a thought pattern in your mind without talking? So a powerful, powerful phrase is, nothing happens outside of a conversation. Nothing. So have the conversation. Have the conversation. And I think that is what the problem is. We don't want to talk to each other. We want to just assume, and we want to listen to what other people say about the person instead of talking to the person.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and like you said, we could spend hours on topics. But let's change directions, because you're also a life coach, And that's a really curious, I would love to be like in the seat of a life coach or a fly on the wall one day because I'm so interested in, but I'm really interested in the different topics that people bring to you, that they're interested in learning about. What are some of the most common topics from life coaching that you get that may be helpful to other people who are listening and trying to evaluate the direction that they're going in their lives?
Yeah, great question. So obviously my audience is the 9-to-5 working woman. I have coached men, but we have to have our target market, right?
Sure.
That's such a good question. I've had a lot of career changes, career movements. I've had a lot of the mom who was at home waiting for the kids to grow up. Now they're just ready to get back into the workforce. I've had a lot of that. I've had a lot of the C-suite executives wanting to just understand who they are. They were kind of caught up in their title, and I'm like, I like my job, but I'm lost. So I have a lot of identity issues, a lot of identity, and that's the thing with women. I mean, it just is throughout history. We have history. Oh yeah, we have history to blame for that. Seriously, women's suffrage. I mean, it's just yeah. We can talk about that for another 15 hours. But yeah, so that's really career transition and identity. Those are the two main things.
I believe you've been. Did you say that you've been doing the coaching work for about 10 years?
Yeah, my business is 10 years old this year. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations! So over the 10 years, have you seen a shift in the conversations that people want to have with you about these topics? So you mentioned identity, career. I think career's probably always been one, but I guess my curiosity is around identity because I think that it's way more acceptable now to really own who you are and go out into the world and be vocal and explore and be passionate about who you are, maybe. And I think this is a little bit of a switch where now people are like, okay, it's totally fine for me to be me, but now who am I? Are you finding these differences between when you were doing this 10 years ago to today?
It's still, I mean, there's been changes, but that's still a top issue. That's still out there because social media has I want to say it's gotten a little worse. So because people can hide behind a screen. So social media owns us, so people lose their identities. Even not, we want to talk about teenagers, but adults are hooked on TikTok. It's one of the main reasons why I wrote my book, The Ultimate Brag Book, because one of my requirements is if you coach with me, I don't make you, I can't make you do anything. I'm going to ask you to keep a journal. I'm big on journaling. Journaling can save your life. Read the research on it, but I'm going to ask you to keep a journal, and I'm going to ask you to make a list of just, if you can't come up with 10, just make a list. Make a list of, if you were to move all the obstacles in your life, if you had all the money in the world, if you had whatever you could do, what are some things you would do? Climb Mount Kilimanjaro, travel the world, just make a list of those things. And you'll be surprised, Kristen, the amount of people, women especially, who can't make that list. Who cannot make that list. So I said, you know what? I'm going to come up with a book. So the Ultimate Brag Book, 100 questions about how awesome you are. And people have been loving this book. It's out there on Amazon. You can go to my website and get it. But people have been loving this book. And it's simple. It's a simple, fun journal. Has 100 questions about how awesome you are. When was the last time, Kristen, you asked yourself, what are my favorite 10 restaurants? What do I love about my body? What companies, if I were a CEO, could I run? You never thought about asking yourself those questions, have you? Most people haven't. Now, some people have. I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to say the world because I don't know the world, right? But in general, most people don't ask themselves those questions. So it's a fun book because I want people to think about themselves. I want people to know who they are, because we do get wrapped up in what society and social media says we should be doing and should be wearing, and how we should have our hair, and how we should do this. And my hair is locked, so if I want to work in corporate America, it should be straight. Says who? Says what? It's bull crap. It's not true. It's not true.
Right. Yeah. It's such a great point that you make. It's that combination of the society expectations with now the exploitation of that through social media. Everywhere you turn and look now, you're getting that. And I also think it's because, and you know this better than I, but I believe that, our brains are wired to go negative. So we're seeing all of these messages about who we should be, and then we're internalizing that and saying, oh, I'm not skinny enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not da 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 enough, because we're out there comparing ourselves to everything. And then of course we don't think about the positive things. We go straight to the negative. And I think that's an unfortunate part of neuroscience, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what is interesting? Yeah, because you're right. We are wired that way from the creation of man.
Yeah.
The cavemen,
Yeah.
had to hunt.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's that survival mode. Yeah.
So survival mode. So survival mode is normally not positive.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
not that I'm aware of. So it's positive that you can survive, but when you're in that survival mode, it's really not for a positive reason, right? So we're wired that way. So you literally have to rewire your brain, which neuroplasticity states that you can do that. Rewire your brain to think differently and change your outcome. So you can change. People say they can't change. Neuroplasticity says you can.
Which I suppose your book can help with too, because it's that way you're prompting the questions in a positive manner, which is helping somebody think about themselves in a positive light, which can help that process along, I would imagine. I read that you love using vision boards to set goals.
I look at mine every day. I'm looking at one right now.
And so I've got to get your tips and tricks and suggestions for this, because I do talk a lot on this podcast about goal setting with my guests. To help people get from here to there, I think it's really important to have your goal in mind and then take these mini actions daily to, work towards that. But we've never really talked about vision boarding. It's the topic I'm interested in. So why do you think vision boards are so great for achieving your goals?
Vision. What you put in your eyes and what you put in your ears is everything. That's everything. What you look at and what you hear determines what you think. So if you're looking at something and you put it in your vision, so think about it. If you're constantly looking at scary movies all day long, would you be surprised if you have a nightmare? Right? But if you're constantly looking at happy stuff all the time, would you be surprised if you had a happy dream? Right? So our bodies are, again, wired. Your brain doesn't know, right? So you gotta put the information in it. Your brain is not dumb, right? But it inputs what you intentionally are giving it. So if you have a board in front of you of all these positive things you want, like here in my house, I have words, I have positive things all around me. I got my Golden Girls back here. I got positive buttons back here. I got people who I admire back here. Yeah, I got positive phrases all around me. I read them all the time. I got positive stuff all around me. So I'm constantly infusing positivity into my life because that's what I want. That's what I want into my life. Does it mean that I get depressed and get down? Of course, I suffer from PTSD, so of course I do. But I constantly have to keep reminding myself, it's work. It is work. You have to constantly do it every single day. So a vision board helps you. It reminds you. Remember that list I said to make? You can take those if you want to climb the Great Wall of China. Then go to Google, go to Google Pics, print it out, get your color printer. Cut out the picture, put it on the board, and say, I will go to China one year. And maybe put the year 2025. And guess what? Here's a beautiful thing, people. If you don't go in 2025, it's okay. You can put 2026 on there. And maybe you'll go in 2026. The whole purpose is to get your mind functioned on that. And you'll be amazed. I'm a huge fan of law of attraction. People don't believe in it. It's okay if you don't believe in it because it's a law. You don't have to believe in it, right? Laws you don't have to believe in because they exist regardless of you believing in them or not. So it's a law, right? So the law of attraction states is whatever you feel, it's your feeling, right? You have to feel good about something. So if you feel good about you going to China in 2025, law of attraction says, well, the universe says I got to make it happen for you, right? So why do you think when you read a lot of things and you see a lot of things, they're like, wow, this happens. Now, here's the poofy part that people get confused with. Law of attraction does not say, well, I'm gonna just stare at this thing every day, say affirmations every day. I'm going to China, and it's gonna pop up. That's not law of attraction. I mean, that's not the purpose of affirmations. I hate when I hear people say that, because that's not how it works. You have to believe. And then you put it away. Then you put stuff in action, right? So what do you do? Are you saving? Have you looked at what it takes to even get to China? What does it take to even get to China? What airlines even go to China? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're just waiting for the drop out the sky? Law of attraction does not say that. Once you get in motion, then you'll start having the resources come to you, right? But it's just not going to drop out the sky. So you got to understand how the law works, right? So that's where the vision boarding comes in. Get it in your face. Start studying it every day, looking at it every day, and then start figuring out, okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I think you said a word that I really believe is kind of the foundation of the law of attraction. And I don't study this much at all. I don't know much about it, but to me, it's all about beliefs and believing. And once you are able to, like, you have the Great Wall of China on your vision board, then all of a sudden it becomes a belief that can be part of your life. And I think that helps change your thoughts about the reality of that coming into your life. And so then you're more whether you know it or not, you're going to be taking more steps to achieve that, because now you believe you can do it.
That's the law of attraction, because when you start taking the steps, some people say it's magic. You start taking these steps. Oh wow. You meet somebody that understands podcasts. Oh wow, you're in Walmart and you run across a podcast book. Oh wow, you come on. It's because now it's kind of like when you have a favorite car. It's the same thing, because you're now focused on it. When you're focused on something, you start paying attention to more things. Now it's coming to you. Now it's the same concept. So I have a phrase that I tell people, and we can end on this, but I say it all the time. My coach told me, a coach told her, is whatever you believe, you are 100% correct. So if you believe that you are going to be one of the best podcasters on the planet, and you are correct, Kristen.
It is true then. That is a good place to end on, but I ask all my guests one final question. So I'm going to ask which is, what do you wish you knew today about being bold that you wish you knew earlier on?
How hard it is. I wish I knew earlier how hard it is emotionally. Being bold is emotionally hard and lonely. It's lonely.
What about being bold is hard in your opinion and lonely in your opinion? Because I totally relate to those emotions. Yeah. It is hard and lonely, and I think that's exactly why I'm doing this podcast, to put more bold move stories in front of people, to normalize that it's not easy.
Thank you.
And that it's it can be lonely.
I'm so glad you are. Thank you for doing this. It's I'll start off. So it's hard because it's change. Change is not easy. Change is necessary, and change is needed, and it has to happen. But no one said it's going to be easy, and you have to sit with those emotions, and it's hard sitting with those emotions, because I was told this the other day. So when you have a feeling, right? When you touch a stove, what's the first thing you do? You jump. Your body, right? So your brain doesn't know the difference between a physical feeling and an emotional feeling. So, and I was mind blown when she told me. I'm like, oh, no wonder. So when you have these emotions inside of you, guess what? You can't run away from it. If you touch the stove, you immediately, okay, wow, and it goes away. Well, you can't do that with the emotion. So that's why it's hard. You got to sit with it. So it's lonely because you can, but you don't want to do that. You don't want to sit here and call all the time, because some things that goes back to making it hard. You gotta Some things you just gotta sit through. You gotta go through it. Kind of like going through the fire, as Shaka Khan says, you gotta go through it sometimes. You gotta go through it to get to the other side. And that's it. You got to go through it. And that's the hard part about it. And sometimes you got to go through it by yourself. You know, I have friends and family, and we all do, right? But they can't be with you 24/7. You are with you 24/7. You are with you 24/7. So you got to love you. You got to understand who you are. And that's a journey. We're all on that journey. It's never, ever, ever going to stop. It's never going to stop. And I am learning and loving and understanding that. It takes time.
I so appreciate your answer. And this is exactly why I love wrapping the podcast up with this, because there's always a new insight that I learn, and I hope other people learn as well. But I relate to that. I also think that being hard and it being lonely for a lot of people now, as I think about it more, is related to oftentimes when you are making a bold move, you're probably the first person you know, or one of the first people you know, that is dealing with your situation. And sometimes it takes a long time to figure out, who can you talk to about this? Who can you learn from? How can you get the right support? I mean, there's so many questions that make being the first difficult and contributing to hard and lonely, right? So great place to leave off. I really enjoyed meeting you, Marla. Thank you for being here. If people want to learn more about you, where can they go? How can they find out more?
Please go out to my website, www.truthspeakscoaching.com. Please support our nonprofit. We are a nonprofit, IO for Teens, helping teenagers understand the principles of IO psychology. Can you imagine what we just talked about? If teenagers knew this, because remember, they're the next president. This Generation Z, they're the next president. So what we're teaching them is, well, everything we just talked about encompasses IO psychology. So if they knew this, oh my God. So help me. So go to ioforteens.org, IOFORTEENS.org. Check us out. You can follow me on Instagram, TSpeaksGroup. I'm trying to get my Instagram. I'm trying to get more active on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. LinkedIn under Marla J. Albertie, and also IO for Teens and TruthSpeak Coaching. So just find me out there. Reach out to me. I talk to people all the time. I'm one of those ones. I'll talk to you.
Amazing. Maybe that's why we get along so great. You and I are talkers.
I'm a talker.
Thank you again, Marla. And for everyone else, if you've been listening to the show and you enjoy the episodes, the interviews, I would be just so grateful for you to click that follow button and follow the show. Each episode will automatically download when it airs, so then you never have to worry about finding a show on the spot or missing an episode. So I would really, really appreciate it. It really helps get other people who are trying to make bold moves in their lives an extra dose of inspiration as well. So thank you again for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.